In the days of King Xerxes, ruler of the mighty Persian Empire, his kingdom stretched from India to Ethiopia, 127 provinces in all. His throne stood tall in the citadel of Susa, where wealth flowed like rivers, and power was absolute. But even in this vast empire, a hidden story was unfolding. A story of a young woman, unknown, unassuming, who would rise to save her people. Her name was Esther. The court was alive with celebration. King Xerxes, proud and boastful, threw a grand banquet that lasted 180 days, displaying the splendor of his rule. At the height of his pride, he commanded his queen, Vashti, to appear before his drunken guests to show off her beauty. But Queen Vashti refused. The court gasped. A woman had said no to the king. In a rage, and at the advice of his counselors, Xerxes stripped Vashti of a crown. A decree went out. Every man should rule his household, but now the king needed a new queen. Across the city lived a young Jewish woman named Hadassah, known to the Persians as Esther. Orphaned as a child, she had been raised by her older cousin, Mordecai, a wise and loyal man. When the king's decree called for the most beautiful virgins to be brought to the palace, Esther was taken. But unlike the others, she was quiet, thoughtful. She won the favor of everyone, including Hegai, the eunuch in charge. For 12 months, Esther was prepared, bathed in oils, adorned with fine perfumes. Yet she asked for nothing extra, only what was appointed. For Esther, life in the palace began with silence. Taken from her home and brought to the king's harem, she entered a world unlike any she had ever known. One of gold-covered walls, foreign perfumes, and hundreds of women, each competing for the attention of a king they'd never met. But Esther was not like the others. Each morning, the halls echoed with a rustle of silk as the women were led to the bath chambers, cleansing rituals with the oil of myrrh. The scent was bitter and sharp, seeping into skin and memory. It was a time of shedding, the past, the fears, the identity she once held as simply Hadassah. Esther never complained. She served quietly, listened intently, and watched everything. While others compared jewels and fought for notice, she folded linens, offered kind words to the palace servants, and treated even the lowest maid with dignity. In the evening, the women adorned themselves with fragrant spices and rare cosmetics. Their beauty was painted on, their laughter often forced. They dreamed of crowns and robes. But Esther, she didn't chase favor, she earned it. Hegai, the eunuch in charge of the harem, had seen countless women, ambitious, seductive, arrogant. But Esther was different. She didn't seek to impress. She asked for nothing beyond what was required. Her humility shone brighter than the finest gold. She greeted him with respect, asked thoughtful questions, and followed his counsel. Hegai saw in her a rare balance, quiet strength and graceful obedience. He gave her the best room in the harem, 7 handpicked maids, and all she needed, not because he demanded, but because she inspired devotion. Word began to spread. There is one among us different from the rest. As the months passed, the myrrh gave way to sweet perfumes, amber, cinnamon, frankincense. The bitterness faded, and in its place came radiance. Yet through it all, Esther never forgot who she was. She held on to Mordecai's words. She kept her identity hidden, but her heart remained open, honoring God in secret, walking in humility. When Esther's time came to stand before the king, she could choose anything: jewels, silk, perfumes, rare treasures. But she chose only what Hegai advised, because favor does not come from adornment alone. It flows from the heart. And when she walked into the royal court, King Xerxes looked at her, and he did not just see beauty. He saw depth, poise, peace, mystery. And in that moment, He knew. He asked her questions about what she desired. She answered with humility and clarity. She didn't speak too much. She didn't try too hard. And when she smiled, it wasn't to impress. It was pure. In that moment, something stirred in the king's heart. Not lust, not amusement, favor. It was said that the king loved Esther more than all the other women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins. Esther 2, verse 17. He stood, stepped down from the throne, and placed a royal crown upon her head. The search was over. The banquet was declared. Trumpets sounded through the city. Esther, an orphan, a foreigner, a hidden daughter of Israel, was now queen of Persia. He placed a royal crown upon her head and declared her queen. But still, she told no one of her Jewish heritage, just as Mordecai had advised. Outside the palace gates, Mordecai uncovered a plot. 2 guards were planning to assassinate the king. He told Esther, and she warned Xerxes in Mordecai's name. The plot was stopped, and the men were hanged. The event was recorded in the royal book, but Mordecai received no reward. Then came Haman. Second only to the king, Haman was ambitious and cruel. When Mordecai refused to bow before him, declaring he was a Jew, Haman's pride turned to fury. He did not just seek revenge on Mordecai. He sought the death of all Jews. Haman cast lots, Purim, to decide the day. Then he deceived the king. "There's a people," he said, "who do not obey your laws. Let them be destroyed." The king, unaware of Esther's background, agreed. Letters were sent across the empire. On the 13th day of the 12th month, the Jews were to be killed. Terror swept through the Jewish communities. In Susa, Mordecai tore his clothes, wore sackcloth, and mourned. Esther, hearing of Mordecai's mourning, sent clothes to comfort him, but he refused. He sent back a message, revealing Haman's plot and urging her to go to the king. But Esther trembled. "No one," she said, "approaches a king uninvited. Not even I. If I go, and he doesn't extend the golden scepter, I will die." Mordecai replied, "Do not think you will escape. If you remain silent, deliverance will come from another. But who knows if you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Esther's reply was simple, but full of resolve. "Fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days. I will do the same. And then I will go to the king. If I perish, I perish." On the 3rd day, Esther dressed in royal robes and stood before the king's hall. The moment held its breath. Xerxes looked up and extended the golden scepter. "What is your request, Queen Esther?" "I ask for a banquet," she said, "with you and Haman." Intrigued, the king agreed. At the banquet, he asked again, but Esther delayed. "Come tomorrow, and I will reveal my request." That night, the king could not sleep. He ordered the royal records read to him, and was reminded of Mordecai saving his life. "What has been done for him?" he asked. "Nothing," they replied. Just then Haman entered, ready to ask of Mordecai's death. But before he could speak, the king said, "What should be done for the man the king delights to honor?" Haman, thinking it was for himself, offered a lavish plan. The king smiled. "Excellent. Go and do all this for Mordecai the Jew." Humiliated, Haman obeyed. At the second banquet, the king asked once more, "What is your request, my queen?" Esther stood to my life and the lives of my people. We have been sold to be destroyed. "Who would do this?" the king roared. Esther turned her eyes. "The adversary and enemy is this vile Haman." A stunned silence. Haman freezes. The color drains from his face. The king rises, shaking with rage. Xerxes stormed out into the palace garden, His thoughts a whirlwind. The man he trusted had tricked him into killing his queen's people. Back in the room, Haman fell at Esther's couch, begging for his life. But as the king returned and saw this, "Will you even assault the queen while she is with me in the house?" At that moment, the guards covered Haman's face, a sign of judgment. One of the eunuchs said, "There is a gallows 75 feet high, which Haman built for Mordecai." Xerxes replied, "Hang him on it." And so Haman was executed on the very gallows he prepared for the man he hated. But the threat remained. The verdict to destroy the Jews could not be revoked, for no Persian law once sealed by the king could be undone. Esther again approached the king, this time with tears. Xerxes extended his golden scepter once more. He gave Mordecai his signet ring, the same one Haman had used for evil. And he empowered Esther and Mordecai to write a new decree. A second edict was sent out, with riders on royal horses. Swift and urgent it read, "The Jews in every province are granted the right to assemble and defend themselves, to destroy, kill, and annihilate any armed force that attacks them, on the 13th day of the 12th month." Fear of the Jews spread. Many people turned to their side, and on the day meant for their destruction, the Jews triumphed. And in every province and in every city, there was joy and gladness among the Jews, a feast and a holiday. Esther 8 verse 17. The day that was meant for mourning became a day of celebration, a day that would be remembered forever. The day courage overturned a decree. The day one queen changed the fate of a nation. Lesson from Esther's story. 1. Your identity doesn't limit your destiny. Esther was a young, orphaned, exiled Jew, but God made her queen. 2. Silence isn't always golden. There's a time to wait and a time to speak up. Esther risked everything to speak the truth, and that courage saved lives. 3. Divine timing is everything. Esther didn't rush. She prayed, fasted, and waited on the right moment. Wisdom and patience often open the doors that force cannot. For God uses the ordinary for the extraordinary. No miracles, no burning bushes. Yet God orchestrated everything behind the scenes. He can use your everyday obedience to do something eternal. 5. You were born for a purpose, and who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Esther 4 verse 14. You're not here by mistake. You're here for a mission. Like Esther, may we rise with courage, speak with wisdom, and step boldly into the purpose we were born to fulfill. If you were blessed with this story, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.